Welcome back to Management 2020. In this video, we'll look at advice on how to write a case analysis report. So we'll talk a little bit about what is a report in general, and then we'll take a look at it within the context of business, and then specifically some elements that are helpful to know about a case analysis report. So a report can be used in many different ways in English to describe a variety of different written and oral documents. Um, but in general, the goal of a report is to inform, analyze, investigate, or recommend. So they usually provide data or evidence. They analyze that data or evidence, and then they may end with some kind of recommendation. The tone of a report tends to be more objective, factual, accurate, impartial, at least until we get to the part of the report where there is that recommendation. So they try to look at the information from a neutral position and be fair and balanced in the way they present that information, but then based on the goals or the needs, they will then make a recommendation. So even outside of the business field, reports tend to be fairly clear and concise. They try to know who is the audience, what does the audience know, what don't they know, what do they need to know, and then structure the report around those goals. In general, reports tend to have a title page. If it's a really long report, they might have a table of contents. And then they usually start off with some kind of summary of the whole report at the beginning. So a brief description of the whole report. You wouldn't even have to read the whole report if you just wanted the summary. And then they'll have an introduction section that's going to provide background, the body section, and that can look differently depending on the kind of report, and then finally some kind of conclusion. Now, in our course, we have briefly looked at scientific reports, like journal articles for science and social science fields, and we would consider them a type of report. And they tend to be structured with an abstract, which is the summary of the whole paper in usually one paragraph, and then an introduction section. And in that introduction section of research articles, they generally do a review of previous research, and then they say, well, now here's our purpose. This is the research question we have. They'll present their methodology for collecting and analyzing data, present their results, discuss their results, and then offer conclusion. And many scientific reports will end with a reference section, and it may have an appendix section or multiple appendices if there is extra data or tables or artifacts that they want to share with the readers. Now, a business report, in particular a case analysis report, has similar structure, although we may call these things a little bit different, and especially that middle section may be structured slightly differently. But instead of an abstract, we call it an executive summary. But it's the whole report summarized in about a paragraph. Then there's an introduction section, and in that introduction section, particularly with the case analysis report, we sort of summarize what is the background and what is this case we're analyzing, what's the main issues in the case. Then we analyze the case options. We use different tools depending on the topic of the case. We use different business analysis tools to look at the issues in the case. Then we suggest alternatives. What are all the potential realistic alternatives, and then finally make a recommendation on one of those alternatives, along with an implementation plan of how that recommendation should be implemented. And then there's a conclusion, and of course, there might be references and appendices as well. So who are the audience for a case analysis report? Well, generally, any kind of business report, the audience are the stakeholders, people who are going to be impacted by that business decision, who need that business information. So it tends to be other people within the organization. But that can involve people who have a wide range of background and technical experience. Now, this is different than a scientific report. The audience for a scientific report is usually other researchers who have a similar background. And that's why scientific reports are so difficult to read, because they are written for other experts. But when it comes to a business report, frequently business reports are written to a wide range wide-ranging audience with different levels of technical expertise. And so we need to make sure that these reports are written in accessible language so that people from a variety of backgrounds can understand the information in the report. Now, the tone tends to be, again, more informative, impartial, it's evidence-based, and we do make recommendations, but that recommendation is based on evidence and based on the goals and needs of the stakeholders. So in this video, we've talked about what is a report in general, and then we've talked about how reports can differ across different fields of study, in particular scientific versus business, and then how a business analysis report is structured, and then the kind of tone and audience that is appropriate for that kind of document. For more information about the specifics of what to include in each section of a case analysis report, please look for the written Management 2020 Case Analysis Report Guide.